the project that makes the most sense is the one in Arlington Heights. You own the land. It gives you the greatest capacity to build a paradise. I was never not a fan of the Arlington Heights plan. Just having talked to Kevin Warren on a number of occasions, I know how dialed in he was to wanting to build that stadium on the lakefront.
Kevin Warren, yes, he is the best. Kevin Warren is the best. The Bears are the best.
Talking about you
today. But you've got some fresh quotes, Cap, for everyone.
Yeah, so Adam Hogue just tweeted, and others are now. He said a lot to come from a lengthy chat with both Kevin Warren and George McCaskey this morning in Florida. But here are your headlines. 1, the McCaskey family plans to own the Bears for a long, long time. That has not changed following Virginia McCaskey's passing. As we've been reporting, they got their house in order financially many years ago.
Yeah.
They're good.
All right, your thoughts on that, Tommy? Go ahead.
I'm not surprised, Jonathan. I thought that, with her passing, it would be business as usual for the most part going forward. I think, as Cap said, that they've done some, this wasn't a surprise. She was 100-plus years old, so, they had gotten their house in order several years ago. How it all kind of plays out over the course of the next several years, I'm not 100% sure, but my money would be on them owning the majority of the team in some capacity going forward for the extended future.
The stadium focus has clearly shifted back to Arlington Heights. Take that, Mike Wilbon. Private equity could be used to fund it. Your thoughts?
I think that it makes the most sense. I think we were all on the same page here that the project that makes the most sense is the one in Arlington Heights. You own the land. It gives you the greatest capacity to build a paradise. I was never not a fan of the Arlington Heights plan. Just having talked to Kevin Warren on a number of occasions, I know how dialed in he was to wanting to build that stadium on the lakefront. I think what he found out over the course of time is that things don't work in Chicago and the state of Illinois the way they do in Minneapolis and Minnesota. And I think that he would tell you in a private conversation that while the Minneapolis, politicians and the state politicians in Minnesota would work together, that's not the case here in our fine hometown. So
yeah.
I think that, that was a surprise for him. Look, this is the right decision if this is ultimately the direction it goes from my humble perspective. It's just, if you've driven past that land in recent days, it's magnificent with regard to what it could be. The grandeur that they could place out there is just, it could be epic, fellas. And I hope that they may. If you're George McCaskey, aren't you telling Kevin? Kevin's done some fantastic stuff. Hey, listen, you put a huge team together. All of these plans downtown, they cost a lot of money. You're spending a lot of money for something that is a pipe dream at this point. Let's put our resources to the project where we are.
But it may have also helped you get your tax deal done in Arlington Heights.
I don't think, Cap, that was ever the biggest issue. I think that this is just me opining. I think Kevin used that kind of as a negotiating ploy. That's the part where I thought that, he was trying to basically say, we can't go to Arlington Heights. We can't get the tax thing. That thing was always going to be fixed in a manner in which was going to be beneficial to the Bears. I thought that was the least of the hurdles they faced.
Yes, Kevin Warren, when first told, hey, you got to deal with the park district, he thought it was going to be the park ranger and Boo Boo and Yogi.
Yeah, he said, friends. What do you mean, friends of the park? What is that?
Jay Hood, you nail it. Like that, I don't think he had any idea. And I'm not suggesting he should have. But if you don't live here, you don't know.
The park rangers are a bunch of dopes. Yogi and Boo Boo get over all the time.
Yeah, Wally World wasn't rolling in to go, what do you need? And then the third thing, the Bears voted. They're one of 16 NFL teams known to have voted in favor of banning the tush push. George McCaskey made his case in this week's session to the rest of the NFL.
Did they know what the play was, or are they just going on the term tush push? That doesn't sound very proper.
Is that a profane term? I don't want it.
I'm joking. I like George.
I'm just a fan. I'm not a football evaluator.
Look, this is so silly to me, this whole thing. if you want, if your perspective is that
It sounds uncomfortable. Go ahead.
that too.
Ow! Ouchie!
I haven't done that.
Ouchie!
If you want to get rid of it, guys, because it's just not a football play to push a teammate who has the football forward to advance him, just say that. Say that anywhere on the field, whether it's the tush push or it's an offensive lineman who, from behind, pushes his running back or his receiver into the end zone. Just say that whenever a teammate actually makes contact with the ball carrier and helps him advance forward, the play is dead. If you use that rationale, I'm fine with it. But when you start hauling out this conversation about, well, what we're trying to do is make it safer, my ass, it's football. Like, you're not trying, this is not about safety. This is because it's a play. And by the way, the Eagles can do it. You know why? Because they're huge on the interior of their offensive line and their quarterback squats 750 pounds. Go get your quarterback that squats 750, and you could run it more
But
effectively.
the Buffalo Bills, who were the second best at running it, do not want it in, which I found surprising.
I don't know what the rationale behind all of it is. My point to you, Cap, is why you're voting against it would be important to me. There is no empirical evidence that this has caused any injuries. Now, maybe that's because it hasn't been around very long and they haven't researched it enough.
Yeah, the doctor that spoke yesterday said that he thinks there will be injury, and when it happens, it will be catastrophic.
But,
Right.
but Shay, give the other side of that, though. Again, when we talk about the tush push, what about the defensive side of it, though?
Yeah.
Well, I have an issue that the offense is allowed to use leverage and the defense isn't. That it's outlawed on the defense. Like, if they want to say that you can push your quarterback forward, you can line up behind him and push him forward, then I think the linebackers should be allowed to pinch right behind their defensive tackle and push him forward, and then see how many people get injured.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that I don't know, Shay, that this is going to cause any more injuries than the average football play. I just don't.
I don't either, but I do have a problem with, like, the best way to defend it would be a penalty, and the offense is allowed to do it.
Right. Now, that's different. Again, like, my point to you is I think it's a farce to claim safety for the NFL as the reason to get rid of this.
Fair.
If you want to talk, the reason to get rid of it is because, look, we don't need people pushing each other. That's more of a rugby play than it is a football play. But I just think it's nonsensical. You know what else hurts? When somebody asks you to run a 10-yard in route in between linebackers and your quarterback throws the ball a touch high and his safety will drill you with his helmet.
Are you speaking about Jim Harbaugh?
Right into your ribs? No, I'm not. I'm just saying, from a spectator's perspective, it looks like that really hurts. So it's just an inherently violent sport that you're just going to have to assume some of the the residual risk that exists. So you can get rid of it. I'm like Carm. I'm kind of, agnostic to what you end up deciding doing. Carm has talked about it as well. Like, he's like, I don't care either way. I'm fine with it. I just hate that, how they're explaining it. But the NFL has a tendency to do that, guys.
That's what I said yesterday. The argument they're using is the worst possible argument.
Totally.
Just come out and say, we made this a penalty every other place on the field and every other scenario. It's not in the spirit of game. We don't want it. It's done.
Well, guys, you guys remember going back, I don't know when the rule changed, but you could never push a ball carrier forward. It was illegal.
Right.
Regardless of where you were at on the field. Now it's kind of just been dismissed, and if you want to use that as the basis for wanting to get rid of it, I'm cool with it. I just think it's kind of laughable to suggest that the NFL's, significantly worried about the injury that could occur if this play is allowed to continue.
More with Tommy on a Waddle Wednesday on Cap and J Hood.
One of the points I wanted to make, and then I forgot. The one thing to look at with regard to George is how he responded to the question about accessing the avenue of selling up to 10% of the team to a private,
Yeah, that's the league max.
Yeah, you guys realize that when the Eagles accessed that, they sold 8% of their team. The valuation of the Eagles franchise was $8.3 billion. So when you look at Forbes and they give you the list of the 32 NFL franchises, what they're worth, the actual appraisal for these franchises is going to be significantly higher than even what the value is on those lists, because I don't think that anyone valued the Eagles at 8.3. The point I'm making is think about the Bears. Like, with the the prospect
They're
of
more
owning,
valuable than the Eagles.
Yeah, guys, like you're talking a $10 billion appraisal value. You sell up to 10% of that. That's $1 billion. Like
Pretty
I mean,
easy if that's your down payment to make a payment for your stadium.
Right. That's where you access, because you guys know the fact that if you move to Arlington Heights and build a stadium, they're still going to need public funding. They're still going to ask for money from the state. It's going to come from a different place, but they're still going to ask for money. So they're going to have to also show in good faith that, hey, we're going to subsidize a great portion of this project as well. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack it. I just wanted to make sure that I thought that conversation with George, or that question, and I think the answer to it is they're looking into it, which to me is a very good idea.
Yes.
No, it's Waddle Wednesday. It's whatever is rattling around in that brain of yours, Tommy. You're always
Okay, I got
welcome.
another thing for you, Jonathan. You remember when we talked last week about the quarterback room in New York with the Giants potentially?
Okay, the Giants, go ahead.
Yeah, that would be Jameis Winston, Tommy DeVito, and Russell.
Who is it?
Russ Wilson.
Who's that second
Russell
one?
Wilson.
Tommy
And-
DeVito.
Oh!
And our guy Field Yates in his latest mock, as we projected, Shador Sanders, quarterback from Colorado. Can you imagine
No.
that
Oh,
quarterback?
my God.
Shador, this is how you become a pro, buddy.
You've got Shador Sanders coming in there, and he'd be the normal one.
No doubt.
You got Russell Wilson polished to a T, fake as a T, and then you got Jameis Winston, the preacher, and you got, Tommy DeVito in there. What kind of quarterback room is that, Cap? What are you supposed to do in there?
And listen, I would go to Giants training camp just to see those guys interact.
That's not going to work. Just let alone Russ and Jameis in the same room.
Oh my God, Russ is probably reading off a prompter at a training camp practice.
That's not going to work. I'd like to know, Tommy, and let's see if we can break some news here. Tommy, listen, it's commonplace now. Cap and I have talked about it. This newfangled thing where you could be a general manager for a college team. We've seen now that Trey Young is an assistant GM. You saw this, Cap. We just saw about a couple of days ago. Trey Young, who's playing, is an assistant general manager for his old school. And so I'm just wondering, yes, you're not going to coach. You already said you're interested in coaching. You like to evaluate. But what about GM of Boston College? What about just overseeing the operation, Tommy?
Wouldn't that be great?
Tommy has come home, okay?
Trey Young is probably just they're using him as a recruiter, right? I mean, because Trey's busy. He can't be a general manager of that team or that program.
He gave $1 million, too.
And Steph gave $1 million to Davidson, and he's the GM there.
So what about that,
Or
Tom?
assistant.
I'm not-
They're
no, listen,
assistant GM.
Yes.
I've been paying for weddings in college the last 5 years. I'll give you $10 if the Boston College GM job is going to take a $10 donation. I'm in.
Is that how you get it, though? Can't you just be like, hey, you don't have to do anything, Tom. You're just there for dinners and lunches and just influence,
My problem, Jonathan, at my age, I'd be too honest and I'd tell them why they're stupid. Because they don't spend any money like everyone else in the ACC. I'd get kicked out of that job in 5 minutes.
Whose idea was it to bring this guy back?
Wait a minute, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy, Hoodie and I had this discussion, and we'll let you go on this. If your phone rang, you were running the Bears.
Yeah.
We want 10, your 2 number 2s, and your 3. We'll give you number 2. You get the kid out of Abdul Carter out of Penn State. You doing it?
No, that's too much.
Because I'm on the trade value chart. That is exactly what it's worth.
Why don't you just offer the Bengals your 39th pick for Trey Hendrickson?
Well, he's going to be 30. I'm getting a guy who's 22.
Yeah.
And I have salary lock-in on a rookie contract for 5 years as opposed to paying him $35 million a year.
I have a known commodity with Trey Hendrickson. He sacked 17 and a half quarterbacks in each of the last 2 years.
Okay.
And I can also use the 10th pick and the 41st pick on offensive linemen or, a running back maybe in the second round. I don't want to do that.
I'm not saying I would. I'm simply asking you the question.
You talk about wanting to use all your draft picks on one Wednesday and the following Wednesday.
Whoa,
You
I'm
put
not
them all
saying I
together
would. Shay,
into a gift package,
Sparky,
and you're sending them
I
to somebody.
didn't say I do it. Shay brought it up, so
Whoa,
I figured I'd
whoa.
ask you
Why
the
are
question.
you yelling? Why are you yelling?
Because you're insinuating that I would do that. I didn't
Okay,
say I
but-
would or wouldn't.
Don't
I
yell
don't
at
think-
Tommy. That's not necessary.
Yeah, I don't think you need to yell. You can make your point without. You know what I've always said, Kat? The loudest person isn't always the smartest person.
Oh my. So just calm it down.
Yeah.
All right,
bring
Kat.
it down.
I just asked the question. The Jimmy Johnson trade chart, that's what it's worth.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
Tommy, as we let you go, let's do a Waddle Wednesday bet. We have to do this every Wednesday
Okay,
now.
let's do it.
Why aren't we betting on the Dodgers every day? Because they're not losing again.
Are they 6-0 or 7-0?
They're 7-0. They're going to play Atlanta at 7:30 tonight. Why don't we just bet on the Dodgers until they lose?
Well, what's the number? Like what? How much? What you got to lay some? I would assume you got to lay some cheddar down because they're not.
Shay.
They're going to be a heavy favorite.
So Shay, what?
Minus 250. So this is why you don't bet on the Dodgers every night, because every loss you're going to have to win 3 in a row to make
Right.
up for it.
All right, let's go. Let's
Yeah,
do
that's
it.
not good.
I think that's fun. And so you know me, I like to adjacent bet. So it's 10.5 on the
Run.
run line. They score runs. So does Atlanta. I like that.
So do the Cubs these days, Cap.
Kyle Tucker, buddy.
Sign him.
I just think we had to bet on the Dodgers until they lose because they're
That's
not
fair.
losing again.
Even if you wanted to bet on minus 1.5, you got to lay minus 125 to do it. I'm good.
Or we can. Oh, okay.
We could just bet overs.
Listen, they
I like
run
that.
different. They've got 2 sets of starters and 2 sets of relievers.
It's like Noah's Ark. They got 2 of everything.
Yeah, it's insane.
Actually, I'll bet the Braves because the Braves are 0-6 and they're due. So we'll do that today. And the over on the money on the run line. Tommy, as always, we appreciate the time.
All right, love you guys, even when you're yelling at me, Cap.
Oh my
I
God!
never yell at you. It's the
Feelings are
highlight
hurt.
of my week getting to talk to you.